lights dashing in the city. Say the system's on the ropes, while the same hands that broke it hold your paycheck and your hopes. They'll sell your sweat for silver, call your sacrifice relief, but every drop of truth we bleed writes another line of belief. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of stand tall when they tell you to kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never chain the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. They preach peace from marble towers while they fence off your front yard. They wave a flag made out of rules and call obedience smart. They'll brand your voice as danger, they'll mock your faith as greed. But freedom don't need permission, it just needs men who bleed. Freedom isn't free, it's carved in blood and fire and stone. It's the price of standing tall when they tell you kneel and go home. They can lock up every promise, tax the air we breathe, but they'll never change the hearts of those who still believe. 'Cause freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free, it's written in red on history's page. A warning to the tyrants and the cowards of the age. They can bury us in silence, but the truth still screams. Freedom isn't free. Freedom isn't free.
Rates available. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
The following program contains coarse language and adult themes. Listener discretion is advised.
And welcome into what will be the inaugural episode of the Weekend News Roundup as its own standalone podcast. I've been threatening to do it for a while, and we're just going to start cutting it from the Hour 3 Rick Robinson stuff, but time keeps getting in the way, and I keep not doing it. So we're going to do this. We're going to do it. Oh. Anyway, I just realized that like stuff that I had set up from other channels is imported from over here that I wasn't expecting. So I need to fix a couple things.
It's going to happen when you got 18 balls in the air at the same time.
Hey. Let's not talk about me playing with my balls on the air, sir.
Well, it's Friday. I figured, not safe for work applies.
Yeah, I mean, you're not wrong, but still. Let's. I'm trying to keep it professional, man. I'm trying to keep it professional, at least a little bit. All right. So how are things with you, man? How are tricks? How are things?
Nah, we're going good. It's been a hectic week, but doing well with it. It just means more content, more material, right?
Yeah. Let's talk about hectic weeks, dude. I'm just like and again, I think it's because the year that I decided to start doing this full time was one of the last years Biden was in office. And the news cycle was so much simpler when dude was, tucked in bed with his tapioca by 11 a.m. and already calling lids. And now we've got a president who never sleeps. And it's funny because even the media talks about how he never sleeps. They're like, even on the plane when he's doing like the international trips, they're like, this is normally when we would grab sleep, and he keeps coming to get us to do gaggles, and we're trying to sleep, and I'm like, I don't know.
Well, the other one
But-
too is that they also like to contradict themselves by complaining, it's 2 a.m. and he's out there tweeting on Truth Social when he should be working. Or it's like you're bitching about no sleep, and he's probably sitting in bed with the phone. You know, I always enjoy that complaint too. It's like, how can you be tweeting instead of doing work? Like sending a post doesn't take more than 30 seconds, but somehow that interrupts your entire day.
Dude, you can post from a phone, so you can be doing that from bed.
Yeah, I mean, I frequently do it myself when I'm compiling content and stuff for my column or articles or something, and things will come across. It's like, let me just zap this asshole, and then boom, put the phone down and go back to work. It doesn't take any time, but
I mean, I do a lot of my morning note grab from bed while I'm sipping on my first cup of coffee with my phone before I start shipping it over to Ace to tell it what to do with it. Yes, I've named my GPT. I have a producer now. His name is Ace.
oh, look at you. You got a personal assistant.
Well, since I do have like 25 different shows and projects, it has made things a lot easier. I'm just still trying. So I'm back to 80. So remember when I said from like July, I was doing about 50% of what I was doing because of everything that happened with the house and everything else. I'm back to about 80 now. Now I just still need to find out ways to carve out time and energy so I can contribute to Twitchy more than I have been, because I got back on that horse for a little bit, and then now it's like yesterday, that was my plan, right? I'm like, it's Thursday. I don't have as much to do. I've got the ceremonies, but that's already been planned, and then I'll be back in time to do Jen and Rick. So I was gonna eat lunch and then write 2 or 3 articles, and instead I ate lunch and woke up at 5 o'clock and went, crap, I'm supposed to be at a wedding in an hour. I better hurry.
Yeah. You're a bit of a dynamo. You're in that same Donald Trump realm of, sleep is secondary in life, apparently.
Apparently he does it better than I do, and he's like 20 some odd years younger than me, so I'm kind of upset by that.
Well, I mean, he also has, what kind of team does he have working around him all the time as well? You've got one Chat GPT account, and he probably has a team of 60. So
this is true.
Makes a little more sense.
But yeah, so fun times. But yeah, so here we are. It's the weekend news roundup. We're gonna get everybody prepared for everything they need before the 5 o'clock dump happens, as it does, no matter who's in charge, because it will happen, and it always does. Yeah. So far, I mean, the news for this looking pretty good. I mean, he got a standing ovation at the, what do they call it? The kid, what is it? I keep wanting to say kid, but that isn't it. The Knesset. There we go. And then a couple hours later, got the same treatment from a bunch of Muslims over in Egypt. So it's funny how the guy that they keep saying is making us the laughing stock is the only one anybody's listening to, compared to the last guy who was being led around by the hand, albeit by a rather hot Italian prime minister, but still being led around by the hand. I mean, I wouldn't object being led around by the hand by her, but there were different reasons it was happening with him. So
I get you, tone it down. But it's part of the thing I found amusing was when the peace deal comes in, how many people on the left were desperate to say that this was Joe Biden's peace deal. Donald Trump was slapping his name on Joe Biden's work and all kinds of crap like that. But yet we have to ignore every single world leader that came out and praised Donald Trump for his work, and that this would only have been accomplished with Donald Trump. And we even had the Pulitzer Prize winner come out and dedicate her trophy to Donald Trump. But this was all Joe Biden, we're supposed to believe. It's like, stop it already.
Yeah, it's just what's funny is the people that were giving credit for the peace deal without actually recognizing him as being the one that actually deserves the credit for it. And at some point, even some of those folks eventually did come out and give him grudging credit. What I thought was hilarious was Time Magazine doing an up the nose shot, as their final, final slight to the guy. It was, you're gonna get on the cover, all right, but you're not gonna like what the picture looks like.
Yeah, and it was in complete contradiction too to the write-up. I mean, their article itself was rather laudatory and very positive, and yet somebody in editorial was like, "Well, we still got to stick it to the guy." This is, the same Time magazine that like a few days earlier on last Friday were, trying to mock him. It's like he was begging for the Peace Prize and they took it away from him. Do you realize that the nomination for the Peace Prize stopped on January 30th? So
Right.
he was in office all of 12 days before they had the vote come in for it. Well before he struck 8 different peace deals and brought people home from political prisoners in Russia and Venezuela and a number of other places. So
which
I'm pretty sure next year he's going to qualify.
Which to fire up the Wayback Machine is the entire reason that because according to the Democrats, Barack Obama got the Nobel Peace Prize 7 months into his presidency, but he didn't, because with the window that the voting closed for, he basically got it for being elected.
Yeah,
which is what everybody was
it.
saying at the time. They're like, the voting for this stuff closed in January, so that means he basically got the gig for being elected in the first place because he hadn't done anything yet. Like nothing.
He didn't stutter during the swearing-in ceremony, so he deserves a trophy. That's about all you could point to. If it was the following year, then you'd have some legitimacy to it. But
yeah,
you're looking at 12 days of work, and he got the Peace Prize.
Yeah, so
that's about as close to a participation trophy as you can get.
Yeah, notice they never actually gave him one for any time that he was officially in office, because he, only set back race relations to 1959.
Drone striking people,
drone striking Americans on foreign soil. Let's not forget allowing towns to burn without doing anything about it all, because, well, these people have a right to how they feel, and we're going to let them burn stuff down because of it. If not for Barack Obama, I don't think we would have half the issues that we have with Antifa and everything. Because now we have a bunch of adults that are trying to get back in charge and trying to bring the unruly children back under control. For those of you that have ever raised children, how once you've let go of the reins, how hard it is and how long it takes to get them back under control, and how painful of a process that can be. This never should have been allowed to happen in the first place.
It is. It's I just look at some of the coverage of this, and they're trying to also sell us on the fact that Biden's peace deal should have come through in March, and Donald Trump told Netanyahu to spike it so that he could get credit, and Israel broke the ceasefire. It's like, if you actually look at the news reports, it was because Hamas refused to turn over the hostages as promised. Ergo, they broke the ceasefire. They broke the deal. So everything is revisionism right now. As far as many on the left, they just keep having, like Blinken and others are coming out and trying to take credit for this. It's like you had over a year to strike a deal and you didn't do it. So I'm sorry, but
that's it. They had a year. They couldn't get it done. And then the only reason it never got done is because Trump told them, no, that's not, trust me. And that's just it. I'm going to be honest. In 15, 16, I bought into a lot of hype about him being a scary ass narcissist because of some of the things that he was saying on the debate stage. He has proven over the last decade that he is not as the media has portrayed him to be. And the funny thing is about all these people that are portraying him that way now, they loved him before he changed the letter behind his name. They adored him.
It's always the case. And you're seeing it take place now, so that if anybody leaves Trump's cabinet and criticizes him, they love him. Meanwhile, Fetterman is out there speaking his mind and they can't stand that. It's just the hyper partisanship is always going to float to the top. So,
well, the funniest thing about Fetterman is they're already making noise about primarying the poor guy. And I'm like, dude, he was like your hero earlier because he won an election after recovering from a stroke. Now that the stroke has apparently rewired his brain, or at least put him in touch with his mortality enough to realize that you guys aren't who he thought you were, and he's actually starting to stand up for what he believes in instead of towing party line, now you want to replace him? I'm like, dude.
Well, yeah, but I've also saw this week, somebody looked into it. He's speaking his mind, but he's still voting Democrat.
Oh, I know.
It's something like 92% of the time he votes in line with his party. So it's not as if he's this renegade voting 50-50 and helping Republican causes. I mean, with the exception of maybe the shutdown, you'd be hard pressed to find too many times where he's voting against the Democrats.
Well, yeah. So, well, funny thing about that, even with the shutdown, the CR vote in the Senate, he's only voted for it a couple of what are they at, 9 or 10 times now? The rest of the time he votes against. But I mean, even the Democrats that are, trying to appease, and I think they're the ones that are up for re-election, trying to appease their more moderate folks. They'll like, oh, it's my turn to vote for it, and the next time I'll vote against it. And then you vote for it, and then you vote against it. It's all just a bunch of freaking kabuki theater. Because the fact of the matter is, this is Joe Biden's budget being pushed a little further down the line. They should have zero reason to argue against it, especially now that Thune has caved and said, hey, if you pass this, we'll go ahead and talk about those subsidies that you want to keep. No. The Affordable Care Act has never been affordable, and now we're actually able to show people how unaffordable it is, and you want to spare them from the pain instead of making them realize that we can't continue down this path. No.
Well, it was just this morning, Robert Reich stepped on his crank because he pulled out, I think it was Iowa. He was pulling out examples of people who are looking at now their ACA premiums going up because of the date. And he said that they were originally paying $51, but without the government subsidies, their premiums are going up over $2,000.
Yeah, I saw that.
It's like, okay, Robert, that means the Affordable Care Act from Obama is definitely not affordable if the government has to subsidize something like 90% of it. I mean, what happened to the promise of it becoming cheaper, that this was something everybody would benefit from? What's going on? I mean, how do you sit there and criticize what's happening when it's your plan?
Well, this is the part nobody's talking about. That so that markup difference, like going from $55 a month to over $2,000 a month. Guess what? The government was still paying the rest of that $2,000. It wasn't going away. They didn't wave a magic wand and say, "Oh, we're not going to worry about that anymore." No, the government's been footing that bill. So guess what? We have been paying all of those marked up medical prices through our tax dollars, which is another reason why our medical coverages suck now, because nobody wants to talk about that part. And honestly, I've talked about that story now twice, and it just occurred to me that the differences in price that they're talking about are still being paid for. It's just the government's picking up the tab, so it's no different than insurance. The reason insurance charges so much is because the price gets spread out among everybody that's paying the premiums. But the same thing is happening with the ACA. The price difference gets spread out among all of the taxpayers. So you're paying your bit up front, but then they're still hitting you on the back end with your tax dollars. So you're still technically paying the damn thing. Now you're not paying as much because it's being spread out, but you're still talking about medical coverage that used to cost, $50, $60, even $200 a month for the really good plans, now costing anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000 a month. The only difference is you only see the tip of the iceberg because the rest of it's underwater, and the government pays for all the stuff that you can't see that's under the waterline, which is another reason I'm broke.
The other detail they don't want to talk about too is that most of the subsidies right now were temporary. These were put in place during COVID, during the pandemic, and they were supposed to be sunsetted. And it was just to float people through the 2 weeks that we're supposed to, let it pass. And this just kept going. And now, bills are coming due. Basically, you're looking at $1.5 trillion added to the federal budget if this comes to light. So something's got to change. And what the Republicans are looking to do is remove those who aren't eligible, get rid of fraud, try to do what they can to cut down on those expenses. And the Democrats are fighting them on every issue. It makes no sense.
And the funny thing is about the Democratic messaging is when they started talking about, illegals having access to Medicare and Medicaid money through how the hospital programs currently work. Oh, none of that's happening. We don't know what you're talking about. But it is happening. And it has been happening, and this.
Well, their argument there cracks me up. It's like, they're basically trying to say the illegals don't get Medicaid. Well, no, technically, no, they don't. The hospitals do after they treat the illegals. And they try to say that that's a distinction without a difference. It's like, no, they don't have insurance. It's just when they go to the emergency room, then Medicaid reimburses the hospital. So, yeah, you're paying for their medical care is what the point was originally. They can't keep it straight. They're trying to, change the font while the sentence is exactly the same.
So, sorry, I just realized something else really weird happened. So I think my computer has been having some issues today because I just realized I'm logged into another provider's Restream account because I was wondering why nothing looked the same. So, yeah, so I do production work for another group and they use Restream too. And I just realized somehow I logged into their account while I was still simultaneously logged into my account, which is supposed to be impossible, but here we are. So luckily I'm archiving this on Rumble, so I'll be able to find the all of it later anyway, because I was like, why is none of this working right? But anyway, all right.
Great. We're pirating somebody else's feed.
Well, technically kind of, sort of, but but not really though, because it let me go out to all the streams. So I don't know what's going on. All of the interfaces look different than they do on the rest of them though. So yeah, so I don't know what's happening. It's telling me I need grade to do local recording, and I've never had to do that before. So anyway, we'll see what it does when it's over. All right, sorry, that's enough shop talk. But yeah, so all of this is astounding to me because this has been their whole thing is we want to talk about keeping these subsidies. So now Thune is like, okay, pass the CR and then we'll start holding votes about trying to keep these subsidies. But they realize that the American people don't really want these things to continue, so they don't have a leg to stand on if the government gets reopened again. Because, I mean, most of us that have been screaming and yelling about Obamacare since 2010s, 2011s, when it was becoming a thing and how it was eventually going to be proven out that it was completely unaffordable, are sitting here going, we told you 15 years later, but we've been telling you the entire time this was unsustainable. And I'm telling you right now, if not for Donald Trump, they would have already let it collapse. They want us on Canadian-style single payer. It's been their plan the entire time. And you'll hear many of the Democrats talking about it. Bernie Sanders, the occasional Cortex, they want single payer. They want Canadian-style medicine here in America, which is the last thing that we need. We're getting dangerously close to it now because we're now dealing with all these things where, I have a friend who just went to the hospital, found out that they were diagnosed with Charcot foot now on their other foot. They're still waiting on approval to get given boots because they're diabetic, so they can't cast them. So now they need a boot on both feet because they have broken bones in both feet. This has been going on for 2 months, and they're still waiting on final approval from their primary care physician to get boots so they can actually function.
And that is Canadian healthcare right there.
So
I mean, that's the way it works.
That's just it. We're already there. Nobody wants to talk about it because there aren't enough people that are willing to stand up and say, hey, I'm waiting 2, 3, 4 months for things that should have been done same day. Because now the important stuff, like a lot of the surgeries, procedures, things like that, they'll do those quickly still. But for the stuff that should have been able to be handled same day in an office visit or same day when you go to an ER, we don't have authorization from your primary care physician, and we don't know where we're going to be able to get that. Excuse me?
Well, the biggest thing, and the argument that was being forwarded back when they were debating this whole issue is that one of the primary reasons costs are so high is because they limit the marketplace and they don't allow insurers to cross state lines and things of this nature. So you really only have less than a handful of providers to choose from for personal health care instead of opening up the entire marketplace and letting them compete and drive costs down as a result. And this is where the big flaw is. They don't want the open marketplace. They don't want lower prices. They want control of the healthcare system. And I'm sorry, the last thing I want is the government in charge of my healthcare.
So, I mean, and that's just it. Since we're stuck with insurance has been around long enough that it isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But there are 2 really quick, down and dirty, easy ways to lower cost. One, start making providers show you their upfront pricing. You don't walk into a restaurant and sit down and look at the menu and order and then bring you a bill for $500 without you knowing you're going to be paying $500 for the food. Same thing should be happening with our healthcare. Now, we do that because and if you don't believe me, you can look it up. Use Google, whatever search engine you choose. Pull up the hospitals in your area, and it will show you that based on reports that there are hospitals within miles of each other that have vastly different pricing scales. Now, there are various different reasons for that, and those can be explained, but it would be much easier for them to explain them and even have to explain them to you if you knew up front what their prices were for individual procedures and how much they were charging for Tylenols, ibuprofen, and all the above. Because then they can't go to the insurance company and ask for more. One of the other things that I think is absolutely amazing, and this story came out about a month ago, there was, I guess, a member of the media, and I don't remember who it was, who showed proof of their hospital bill for labor and delivery after they had a child. It was originally like $12,500. They then contacted the hospital back and told them they were paying cash, and then they got sent a bill for $2,500. So there was a $10,000 markup between private pay and insurance pay, which is insane. So if we make them stick to upfront pricing, so we know what they're going to be charging us for stuff, and then at least if there's going to be a change, they have to itemize it and tell us what those changes were. And then, like you were talking about, open up all the insurance providers to be able to provide insurance across all 50 states. So there's actual competition. We could get prices back under control again so much more quickly. But the other problem is, and I talked about this today with Bill Gates and some of the other megalomaniacal Democratic, asshats that have built up all these, that are well versed and well funded in all these different groups that do the vaccines and everything else. They're actually driving up the cost of healthcare worldwide on purpose. Makes you wonder why that's happening.
Well, the other thing too is how much that hospitals will be on the hook for the uninsured. And this includes both citizens and illegal aliens. And this is why you've got such a skewed pricing system, that they have to compensate for those expenses. So the people that aren't paying or that walk out on a bill and things of that nature, they have to make it up somewhere else. And lo and behold, you end up with $25 Band-Aids, aspirin costing $18 a pill and crap like that, because they have to make up the difference somewhere else.
Oh, so this just came out. We got to talk about this. Apparently there are, actually, I guess there's kind of a backstory here. So if you've been paying attention to C-SPAN, you've probably started to notice a lot of Democrat infighting when it comes to the shutdown, because they're not really even hiding it anymore. There is now, according to Matt Vespa over at Town Hall, a senior Democratic Senate source who has let it leak that it looks like Chuck Schumer might actually be considering retirement.
Anytime soon, or is this,
No, apparently like
the midterms?
No, apparently, this is from Mike Lawler. Get ready for the announcement that this will be his final term, and that's being so who knows?
Down the road, basically the midterms.
Yeah, so we'll see, but it could also, with him feeling like he's losing control of his party, I could kind of see why. I mean, he is supposed to be the leader of his party right now, and absolutely nobody's listening to him. So,
look at the fact that this week they had Bernie Sanders and AOC doing a town hall on CNN.
Well, and let's not
what is that all about?
Let's not forget the bright spot of that entire thing, where AOC starts talking about drinkable air.
Oh, the two of them were a complete fiasco. And I said in my media column yesterday, it's like, sorry, where was their fact checker Daniel Dale? Because this is kind of his thing when she comes out and claims that a company is pouring chemicals in a river and setting it on fire. The company she named is an accounting firm, for starters. And last anybody checked, it's been about 60 years since any rivers caught fire in the country.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
And then on top of that, you had Bernie Sanders coming out and saying that Twitter is owned by Jeff Bezos.
Yeah. Oops.
Okay. It's like Daniel Dale, paging Daniel Dale. Can we get some fact checks, please? No? Oh, they're Democrats.
Nice.
My bad.
Yeah.
My bad. I forgot.
Clean up on aisle 11, T, because dude, did they make a mess? But still,
I mean, this is on his very network, and he doesn't feel a need to come out and correct politicians either lying or just talking out of their ass. No need.
But and that's just it. I think they are still under the impression that people are too stupid to be able to see when politicians are lying to them. And unfortunately for the Democrats, that is not really a thing anymore, because ever since COVID, people have really started waking up to everything that we have been being put through. And it only keeps getting worse for them because they keep trying to stick to the same playbook. It's almost like the roles are reversed, because you remember in the 90s and the 2000s, I mean, even though there were a couple times we had Republican presidents and things like that, there was this issue with messaging where no matter what they tried to do, it was like they were sticking to the old playbook that just didn't work anymore. The worm has turned, and now people are realizing that all these things that you promised them never really happened. I mean, one of my favorite moments was breaking Grok when it came to Washington, D.C. just about 6 months ago, and pointing out, the Democrats have been running the city for 50 years. Tell me anything that they've promised that they've actually done. And it couldn't do it, and it broke it. So,
well, it's just the case where it's another sign of how much of a loss of grip on the narrative the media has, and they don't seem to grasp it. I just talked about it recently when they had yet another Gallup poll come out and show another historic low in trust in the media nationwide. And the press just keeps operating in the same This is 7 straight years that the faith has gone down. Second year in a row, they've hit a historic low. And nobody wants to fix it. Nobody sees a need to repair it. And the efforts that are made to do it, a little bit at Washington Post, now they got CBS bringing in Barry Weiss to run things, has journalists setting their hair on fire.
Dude, she recently got her first scalp. I was kind of happy about that one too. I mean, granted, their job was already on the way out the door, but it was nice that she walked in and collected a scalp on like day one.
No, it's just it's necessary. But the people that are screaming about this are the same ones that are like, why are we losing all the faith in our public? It's because of what the hell you're doing, and you got to change it. And then as soon as you talk about, all they're doing is saying, we got to move to the center. We got to be a little more even-handed. I think it was Max Tanny over at Semaphore was talking about Washington Post and said that, they have efforts to move to the center, but that's going to alienate the bulk of their readership. And it's like, Max, you just admitted the Washington Post operates on the left entirely. I mean, that's just, and all they want to do is be centrist, be even-handed, cover both sides, or be critical of both sides. Unacceptable. And it's just, they're doing it to themselves, and they don't even get it.
Well, I mean, and not to butcher Sun Tzu, but when your enemies are making a mistake, stay the hell out of their way. Because
sure, this is, but it's just an indication of how resistant they are to fix the problem. And again, it's not like we're turning MAGA and it's going to be Donald Trump 24/7. It's just like, hey, can we criticize the Democrats on occasion? And they lose their mind. Look at what happened during the election.
Yeah.
The Washington Post and the LA Times said, we're not going to endorse a candidate this election. That's all it was we're going to be neutral. We're not going to pick a side. They had mass people quitting because of this. It was absolute pandemonium.
But Brad, you can't be neutral when he's Hitler.
And that's the thing, is they were basically coming out and saying, no, we have to endorse a Democrat. We have to be liberal. Like, journalists were saying this, not anything else. And it got so hilariously bad that there were mass cancellations. And one reporter even said, my mother is canceling her subscription to Washington Post. And she said, no, wait, Mom, that's the one thing you don't want to do.
Yeah.
So even their own family were turning on them because they were just that entrenched with liberalism. It cracks me up to see this, but they don't seem to listen to themselves, which cracks me up. The Associated Press now, we're talking about the shutdown, and what's the big thing? Healthcare, right?
Yeah.
They're complaining because when we canceled USAID, it means that the tiny African nation of Lesotho is going to have its healthcare for AIDS fighting completely crippled, and this is horrendous, and we need to do, it's like, listen to what you're saying. our government is shut down because we're not getting healthcare for Americans, and you're demanding we give healthcare to an African country on the other side of the planet.
Crazy, ain't it?
It's like, where is common sense even creeping into the discussion? I mean, it's just absolutely hilarious that they don't even read their own content or listen to what they're saying.
Well, as my grandma used to say, common sense is not a flower that grows in everyone's garden, unfortunately. So,
and they had to, have you seen this kid, Adam Mockler from Midas Touch?
I have not, but feel free to fill me in.
He's been getting a little more traction. He kind of popped up on the scene right around Charlie Kirk's death, because he was kind of being positioned now as his replacement, but on the left. And his big claim to fame is, I'm a young kid and I go and talk to adults on news shows, where Charlie Kirk would go to college campuses and debate the kids. Yeah, and it kind of hit me in the head, and I was like, I'm sorry, I was under the impression most people on college campuses are adults. Don't you have to be like 18 and over usually to? But he's like, I'm a young kid, and look at me debating, and everybody's praising him. So the other night he's on CNN, and the left were just like, look at the way he owned the conservatives, and he's debating with Scott Presler. And Mockler comes out and talks about how the shutdown is the Republicans' responsibility, because the 51 of them are all voting in lockstep and can't even get 7 Democrats to agree. They need to debate. And it's like, hang on. You just admitted the Democrats are voting against opening the government up, which is your entire party's claim to fame that it's the Republicans' fault. And so here he is stepping on his own crank, and everybody's applauding him. And it's like, did you hear what he said?
Well, hell, AOC basically said the same thing during that, abysmal town hall we were talking about earlier, like complete with doing this stuff while she was talking about it. If Johnson isn't willing to bring Hakeem Jeffries to the table, then no. The House already did their job, honey. They don't need to open anything up. They don't need to swear anybody in while they're closed down. They don't need to do anything else because they already did their job. They sent over the clean CR. Now it's up to the Senate. So either you guys get in line or get out of the way. And I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for these people, because I would like to remind them, Barack Obama, 2009, elections have consequences. And it's about time a Republican started holding them to that standard. The one thing that I'm curious about is, I know today was the day that Trump was supposed to be dropping the scissor list. I really, really, really want to see the scissor list. Because
the other thing too is all the claims that they're saying run into 2 common problems. One being that the CR they're passing is clean because it's based on the previous CR, which was written by Democrats. And 2, it's a bill that came from the Democrats. The CR is theirs, and the healthcare bill that they're discussing is theirs. And yet they're talking about the Republicans being unwilling to negotiate their bill. It's like, it's yours. So, why do you have to negotiate your policy? It's yours.
Yeah, so the CR is yours, but it's not good enough. Obamacare is yours, and it's broken, and we're finally showing everybody exactly how broken it is. And somehow this is our fault? Really?
Yeah, and the thing they're screaming about are the Republican policies that they want to fix the bill and make costs go down. That's what they're screaming. No, we have to give it to everybody. You want a broken system you want to make available to all people. Okay, that makes perfect sense. I guess.
that was part of what kept their costs down. Is, remember, you were either required to be a part of the system or provide proof of insurance through something else, or you were going to pay a penalty every year. So that's part of why they keep screaming for these subsidies, because now that the penalty isn't in place anymore, they have to have some way to push more and more of those costs below the waterline, so you don't think about them, even though the government is still picking up the tab for, again, all of that $2,500 some odd dollars that Robert Reich was just complaining about. And I know that's not how you say his name, but I butcher his name all the time on purpose. But yeah, so on top of everything else, right? So there's interesting, there's interesting scandals kind of popping up. Did you hear about the Chicago police officer that was arrested and why they were arrested?
Yeah, this kind of echoes where was it Idaho where they had a school superintendent who was an illegal alien?
Yeah, I think it was either Idaho or Iowa. I don't remember which one, but I know it was one of the I states. But yeah, they had a superintendent of schools in one of the I states that was an illegal alien. So it turns out the Chicago PD actually had an illegal alien on their police force. I'd like to remind everybody that it's illegal for illegal aliens to not only be in the country, it's also illegal for illegal aliens to own firearms. So I'm trying to figure out how the hell he passed his background check in the first place. And I already know the answer. They waved him through because he'd filed an asylum claim, but still.
Well, yeah, this also cuts into DEI as well. Usually it's, if you could check one of the boxes that they desperately want to see, that pretty much will preclude background checks. No, he's a minority. We can get a tax break.
But as I
want to run him maybe through the FBI database first or ICE or anything.
Yeah,
No.
Remember, we're sanctuary city anyway, so it's all fine. But no, I mean, but this is exactly what I'm talking about. The same thing is happening with the healthcare stuff because Scott Jennings was just bashing people over the head with the fact that they found somebody who was receiving benefits through Medicaid who was an illegal alien, and then they started screaming, "Oh my God, Scott, there was one." Now there's a story of 45 or 50 that they've uncovered in another area doing the same thing. This is exactly what I'm talking about. And again, some people are going to be irritated by this analogy, but I'm going to make it anyway. This is like seeing a roach on your counter because when you see one, there are hundreds more that you can't see elsewhere. And this is what we're talking about. So the interesting thing about the Democratic messaging is this, and I'm starting to see it crop up all over the place. It always starts the same way. This is a Republican's conspiracy theory. It's not actually happening. Then it's happening, but it's not that big of a deal. Then it turns into, well, it's happening, and here's why it's a good thing. We're still in the it's happening, but it's not really a big deal thing because they keep making light of the fact. I mean, I even saw an ABC news story earlier this past week where they were like, well, in reality, there is money going to illegal aliens, but it's so small it shouldn't really matter. I don't care if it's $5. That's $5 we could be putting to something else.
Well, to go back to your roach analogy, too, it was a few months ago when ICE was starting to ramp up its collection efforts on illegals. One of their things they wanted to do, one effort was to go to Medicaid and go through their healthcare rolls and find the illegal aliens that are enrolled on there in order to go capture. And the Medicaid people were like, no, you can't do that. Well, okay. If there's nobody on there who's illegal, what's the concern? Well, they're telling us the illegals, they can't get it. It's against the law for them to get it. It's like, well, then you have no problem with us looking at your rolls to find them. Oh, oops. And it's the same thing with voter fraud. It never happens, and yet the thing that never happens constantly gets reported on. It's so minimal. I think in Texas alone, was it the last election or the last midterm election, they found 2,000 illegal people had voted.
Yeah. That's not a small number.
No, it's pretty significant. And again, it's small. It's only one state. Well, there's a number of states that allow illegals to vote in local elections. There's other states now that are issuing driver's license to illegal aliens, and a driver's license is sufficient in that state to vote. Wonder what's going to happen there. And they just bend and break the rules constantly and then claim, well, it's illegal for that to happen. It's like, well, try enforcing the law then. How about that? Nah.
Yeah, it's funny how that works.
Not an option.
It's funny how that works. So, did you hear about what happened with the Pentagon press corps?
Oh, hell yeah. That has been hilarious.
So the funny thing,
covered that a couple of days ago.
Well, the funny thing about this is I've even heard Fox News getting cranky about this because even they're
Fox News walked.
Yeah, even
they had I think 36 outlets altogether, something like that. They all signed the same letter, or they all came out with a statement refusing to sign, and they all walked out. There was a photograph today that was hilarious. They all gathered on the steps of a building, and they're sitting there holding their termination box, posing. The thing is, I have not heard a complaint that's worthwhile about this, though.
So am I the
'Cause
only
they
one?
keep talking.
So I'm sorry, I don't mean to step on you, but I'm
go ahead.
mentioning the boxes. Am I the only one who's weirded out that apparently they were cleaning out offices from the Pentagon?
Yeah. Well, they were the few that had, it's kind of like at the White House where they've got that little cubicle downstairs for all the media outlets. They had similar. That was one of the first controversies, though, because Pete Hegseth said, we're going to clear out a bunch of these because they've been here for years, and we're going to rotate this out to other outlets. And that was the first thing that they screamed about. But all the complaints I've seen about this new set of rules, they don't hold up to scrutiny. Like one of them was, if you break the law and you start leaking classified information, you could have your credentials pulled.
Pretty sure that was always supposed to be the policy, though, right? I would think.
Yeah.
Even if they weren't
Also,
enforcing it, I'm pretty sure that was still a policy.
but their response to it is they turned in their credentials on Tuesday.
So you basically just outed yourself as a leaker. Good on you.
It's like, I can't tolerate the possibility of having them pulled, so I'm turning it in. Okay. Okay. And one of the others was him saying that I don't want people wandering the halls and journalists should not be allowed in classified areas. And they start screaming about this. We're not allowed to go in there now. That's a lie. It's like, okay, then what are you bitching about?
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's my thing, because that's and I don't remember which general it is, but Brett Baer trotted out their resident former general to talk about this when the story started kind of blowing up, and even Fox News said they weren't willing to sign it. And it was like, so what this seems like to me is they're about to start trying to spoon feed information to the press. And I'm like, where in these bullet points does it say anything about that? And the thing, like you were just talking about, if you're already not allowed in the places to begin with, why are you mad for them reiterating the fact that you're not allowed in those places?
Yeah, it's like,
I don't get it.
this is a classified office. You can't come in. Now they put a sign on the door saying classified, no entry, and they're bitching about it.
Right?
It's like, you still can't get in. You never did get in. What's going on here? And, Brian Stelter and others are proudly declaring, we're still going to report on it. We're still going to contact our sources and do our work. It's like, then this isn't a problem, it sounds like. But that's the thing is, they gave a list yesterday of all the new outlets that are coming in because they're agreeing to this policy. It's like, if you're a journalist, put up with it. It's like, okay, you got tougher restrictions, but if you walk away and say, I will not abide by this, Pete Hegseth doesn't give a damn.
Dude, I would hire a Pentagon official tomorrow under the Beacon banner if they would give us creds, dude. I would figure it out, because that would be absolutely amazing.
I will say this, look into it, because some of them, there's like correspondence now from Turkey and things like this that are covering the Pentagon because they're agreeing to this. You should look into it and see if you can, put in a request, because we have overseas outlets now that are embedded in the Pentagon because Fox News and all the others walked away. I honestly have yet to see what the big problem was, because they keep talking about a threat to First Amendment and we need transparency in the government. It's like, yeah, but it's a military installation. They don't give you 100% access anyway. What has changed? Nobody can point to the big change from previous standards. And that tells me everything right there. But it's like, why are you screaming this much? Because you don't have any leverage. Pete Hegseth wants to put it into leaks, and by walking away, he's just chuckling and saying, fantastic.
Yeah, I don't get it. I mean, well, the whole thing is, all you're really doing is pointing out that you weren't really following the rules in the first place. If you're suddenly afraid of the new rules, where the new rules are basically the same as the old rules, they're just making sure everybody's aware of them and making sure the public is aware of them. Because I'll be honest, I didn't know what the rules were to be a member of the Pentagon Press Corps. I'm kind of glad to see that they're being outlined, so that if people do start doing things they're not really supposed to be doing, everybody knows that, hey, they're not following. Rules exist for a reason. Sometimes we like them, sometimes we don't, but rules exist for a reason. And
the best I can see is that this has always been the rule, but now we're going to enforce it.
Yeah,
unacceptable.
Unacceptable. This is unacceptable. Oh, all right. So I thought this one was kind of a big deal. Did you hear about the Hamas terrorists they captured, or the Hamas October 7th terrorists that they captured in Louisiana?
I do. This I didn't hear. No.
So yeah, this is again from Red State. This is Ward Clark. FBI has apparently busted an alleged Hamas October 7th terror suspect in none other than Louisiana. So with all the news coming out of the Middle East with a supposed peace deal between Israel and Hamas, one that Hamas is already violating by committing vicious reprisals on their own people. Does that really count as that they're not attacking Israel? I say, eventually at some point, these people in Gaza are going to either stand up or they're all going to be gone anyway. So let the trash take itself out. That's all I'm going to say there. So it's easy for some Americans to feel a little relief when looking at the broad ocean separating us from that part of the world. We shouldn't feel too comfortable about it, though, because on Friday, we learned that the FBI has arrested a suspected Hamas October 7th attacker right here in the United States in Louisiana. And I quote from the press release, the FBI has arrested a suspect in Louisiana who allegedly participated in Hamas's October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. An affidavit accuses Mohammed Amin Yaqub al-Matadi. You guys' names suck. Wow. A resident of Lafayette, Louisiana, violated federal law by attempting to provide or conspiring to provide material support to a foreign terrorist organization through his alleged involvement in the October 7th, 2023 Hamas-led attack on Israel. He is also accused of fraud and misuse of visa permits and other documents. Al-Matadi is expected to make an initial court appearance on Friday morning, according to the New York Slimes. So in simple English, it would appear that, we had a terrorist in our midst again.
I wonder how he got in.
I wonder.
And I just want to say, too, in my defense, that I didn't miss a story at my own website because Ward posted this after you and I were on the air.
Oh, I know. I was about to give you the out. I just wanted to. I
was like, how did I miss this at our? Oh, okay, that's out.
Yeah,
I was busy with you.
I wanted to let you squirm for a minute before I let you off the hook because it came out at like 12:08 Eastern, so we were already live by then. So speaking of stories that are kind of big and not very many people are talking about them yet, did you hear about the homeless funding scandal that's breaking all over California today?
Geez, another one.
Yeah, it started coming out yesterday. So apparently some of these, supposed, charity groups that have been gobbling up California's funding to try to take care of the homeless. Apparently they started spending it on new digs instead for themselves, not the homeless folks. So
go on.
This is right around the same time that Governor Hairgel Gavin Newsom was making waves on social media, pointing out how bad the housing crisis has gotten under the Trump administration. When in reality, if you look at some of the most recent information, there's probably about to be a change there. Because if you've seen the data that's come out since they stopped letting FHA money go to illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
There's a graph that's come out that stuff has dropped by like 70, 80%. So guess what? I think some of the housing glut might be about to come to a close.
I also think it's hilarious that Gavin Newsom is trying to blame his homelessness problem on Donald Trump when this has been growing for like 15 years over in that state. And he's got this knack of blaming Trump for problems in his state. Like the federal government's not giving us enough money for fire relief. It's like, you're going through a scandal right now. How much fire relief funds were donated and are going to things besides that. And pretty much anytime Gavin opens his mouth, it's a cell phone. Just keep going, dude. Keep going. And also, if you want to talk about homeless problems, Gavin, look at Washington, D.C., because Trump went in there and everybody screamed about it. And one of the benefits was they took care of the homeless problem in D.C.
Yeah.
By enforcing laws. How about that?
Yeah, because, it's not like we don't already have laws on the books to try to address some of this stuff. And people talk about how draconian these laws are. Most of the time, it's to try to find them beds in homeless shelters, before they get gobbled up. So these laws do exist for a reason. But believe it or not, my guy, we are already almost to the end of our time together. So I have just about enough time to ask you to pick your favorite child again for the week.
Let's see. What didn't we cover? Well, how about this regarding the shutdown? probably seen a lot of these videos of Democrats walking through the House chambers looking for their GOP comrades. Where are you guys at? What's going on? I can't find the Republicans.
Yeah.
In the chamber that already passed the CR. Well, going lightly reported, barely touched on in the media, was Monday and Tuesday. A number of Democrats were not in the Capitol. They were at a fundraising junket in California, wine country, in a posh resort that was about $1,100 a night.
So
while the government is shut down because of their votes.
Nice. So
I mean, they're partying it up in Gavin Newsom's country. I think the resort they're staying in is where the French Laundry restaurant is located, by the way.
Which would explain a few things. I'm not gonna be too heavy-handed on it, but I do want to point out the innuendo of them, being on camera looking for Republicans under tables. I'm pretty sure you guys are the ones that like to do things under desks.
Yeah, exactly. And then they had the one of those videos came from their cherished transgender representative who said that the Republicans need to put their big boy pants on. I think that might be the last phrase you of all people should be uttering.
So another story that I thought was funny, and well, not really funny, because apparently my minor league team is a satellite for them now. The Dodgers did a transgender fundraising event the other day, and apparently Leah Thomas was big talk there. And I'm just like, why are the LA Dodgers getting involved in the Rainbow Brigade stuff still? Especially when they don't even have any female players or trans players for that matter.
Yeah, I don't recall any trans individuals in the Major League Baseball circuit. Of course, I don't follow baseball, but I'm just making a grand assumption there that I'm confident about. I don't know. California is about the only explanation I could have for that.
Probably. All right, folks. Well, we're going to start wrapping things up here. Brad, where can folks find you?
Well, as mentioned, you can see me over at Town Hall. Got my daily media column there. It's on the left side of the screen, ripped from the headlines. And then you can see me also on Red State's front page. I got a twice weekly podcast there called Liable Sources, covering more of the press mayhem as we have it. And also right here on this network. Tuesday night, I'm going to be here with the ever effervescent Aggie Reekin on the Cocktail Lounge with our sports and fun news broadcast. And Thursday, it's going to be me and Paul Young on Disasters in the Making with bad movies from Hollywood's worst and having fun at their expense. And if you need more of me, go over to Jitter. You'll find me at Martini Shark, pretty much jumping in the face of people in the press, holding them accountable and pissing them off. I just had Scott McFarland block me, I found out the other day.
I saw that. Another scout for your wall, I see.
It cracks me up when that happens.
But yeah, I mean, it's funny how all these people that say we don't have thick enough skins don't have very thick skins. But anyway, so my name is Rick Robinson. This has been the weekend news roundup. This will start being its own standalone broadcast just because it makes my life easier. Still working on some of the branding, so I'll get that all squared away before we put it together in post to send it over to the podcast stuff. But want to remind you guys, come back later tonight. He Said, She Said with the lovely Aggie Reekin and myself, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Tomorrow night, Front Porch Forensics first at 8 p.m. Eastern, followed by Juxtober, Juxtaposition, Cryptids Edition at 10 p.m. Eastern. Back Sunday night doing the Kingdom and Country podcast. Monday night, America Off the Rails. Tuesday, all of this starts over again with the Rick Robinson Show. Then Tuesday night, back with Manorama. For the rest of it, feel free to check our schedule because if I keep talking, I'll be here for 20 minutes. However, I do want to pump one more thing. Next Friday, there will not be a He Said, She Said. Friday, October 24th, 8:30 p.m., the KLRM Radio Players will be presenting The Day the Earth Stood Still. It should be a lot of fun. Got some veterans returning for a stint that haven't been with us for a minute. We're also going to do an after party where we announce the winter play as well as just hang out and chat with you guys for a bit. But you can also find me at RowdyRick73. You can follow along with everything we do at KLRM Radio. You can find me as a contributor at twitchy.com, misfitspolitics.com, theloftusparty.com. And I also produce the Loftus Party podcast, which drops on Tuesdays. That's it. We're done. Enjoy the rest of your Friday. Get ready for the weekend because you've earned